The Lyalovo and Volosovo cultures were Neolithic and Chalcolithic cultures of northeastern Europe, located in what is now Western Russia and Moscow, Ivanovo, Vladimir, Tver, Yaroslavl, and Kostroma regions. The Lyalovo people practiced a mix of hunting, fishing, and gathering, as the dense forests provided abundant resources. They lived in semi-permanent settlements, often located near rivers or lakes, which facilitated fishing and transport. Evidence suggests limited domestication of animals, though their economy was still heavily reliant on wild resources. There is only one DNA sample linked to the Lyalovo culture, but there are dozens of DNA samples from the Volosovo culture. In this video, we will examine the DNA results of both Lyalovo and Volosovo cultures. Let's begin with a single available sample of Lyalovo culture, who is female. QPAD Mixture analysis reveals that she descends largely from Proto-Indo-Europeans of khvalynsk culture, with significant Caucasian and even Neolithic farmer admixture. This is curious. It suggests strong gene flow from the south of Russia to the north during the Neolithic period. Perhaps people of the Lyalovo or Volosovo cultures contributed to the Komi, Udmurt, Sami, and Mari people in Russia, which could explain the excess presence of ANF and CHE admixture among these northern peoples. The woman carries mitochondrial lineage K1b. She is predicted to have brown eyes, black hair, olive skin tone, straight hair texture, and a snub nose shape. She has intermediate rate of dopamine reuptake, intermediate D2 receptor availability, high odds of autism, intermediate levels of empathy, high odds of obesity, and she most likely carried blood type O. She had high odds of hemoglobin E disease, migraine, male pattern baldness, and testicular cancer. She carried rare risk variants for panic disorder. She had low odds for kidney stones, AMD, cardiovascular issues, type 2 diabetes, prostate cancer, and polycythemia vera. Now, what is entirely fascinating is that the culture that followed Lyalovo in central Russia was entirely different in its genetics. Running samples from the Volosovo culture through QPAD Mixture analysis, we see that it is mainly of EHG descent with only minor Anatolian components, acquired through mixing with the Pitted-Ware culture. This suggests that the steppe-rich Lyalovo was replaced by the EHG-rich Volosovo somewhere during the Neolithic period. Let's examine the DNA results of some Volosovo samples. Starting with our first sample, who is male and carries Y lineage I2A, common for European hunter-gatherers. He is predicted to have brown eyes, black hair, olive skin, curly hair, and Greek nose shape. He was a warrior, had intermediate D2 receptor availability, average odds of autism, lower empathy, lower odds of obesity, and undetermined blood type. He had high odds for rheumatoid arthritis, male pattern baldness, polycythemia vera, and Alzheimer's. He carried no rare risk variants. He had low odds for erythema nodosum, hemoglobin E disease, gout, epilepsy, atrial fibrillation, and ADHD. Now, let's move on to the second Volosovo sample. He is a male carrying Y lineage R1b. He is predicted to have hazel eyes, dark brown hair, pale skin tone, wavy hair, and a snub nose shape. He was also a warrior, had intermediate D2 receptor availability, high odds of autism, higher empathy, low odds of obesity, and blood type O. He had high odds for hemoglobin E disease, AMD, baldness, cardiovascular issues, and polycythemia vera. He carried no rare risk variants. He had low odds for erythema nodosum, migraine, eczema, myopia, stroke, schizophrenia, type 2 diabetes, and multiple sclerosis. Now let's move on to the third Volosovo sample. He is also a male, carrying the Y lineage R1b. He had brown eyes, black hair, light brown skin, wavy hair, and a snub nose shape. He was a warrior, had low D2 receptor availability, average odds of autism, average level of empathy, high odds of obesity, and blood type A. He had high odds of hemoglobin E disease, gout, open-angle glaucoma, cataracts, rheumatoid arthritis, epilepsy, primary biliary cirrhosis, baldness, type 2 diabetes, type 1 diabetes, Alzheimer's, thyroid cancer, polycythemia vera, and testicular cancer. He carried rare variants for congenital analgesia, TAD, and prostate cancer. He had low odds for erythema nodosum, migraine, vitiligo, stroke, deep vein thrombosis, cardiovascular issues, ADHD, schizophrenia, bipolar, and multiple sclerosis. Now, let's move on to our final Volosovo sample. He is male and also carries Y lineage I2A. He had hazel eyes, dark brown hair, olive skin, straight hair, and snub nose shape. He was a warrior, had intermediate D2 receptor availability, intermediate odds of autism, higher empathy levels, intermediate odds of obesity, and blood type O. He had high odds for hemoglobin E disease, lupus, gout, exfoliation glaucoma, AMD, rheumatoid arthritis, epilepsy, myopia, baldness, and Alzheimer's. He carried rare risk variants for IBS and congenital analgesia. He had low odds for erythema nodosum, migraine, Tourette's, stroke, atrial fibrillation, cardiovascular issues, ADHD, type 2 diabetes, prostate cancer, thyroid cancer, and polycythemia vera. You can purchase all the genomes featured in this video in 23andMe format from the link in the description. In the description, you will also find links to purchase my DNA services. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.